we are here to talk about staying human in a digital world, and a perfect subject matter is what's happening in the world of kind of digital platforms, whether we want to call them the metaverse or just Roblox and Fortnite. And I've got two fantastic people joining us who will introduce them in a second. But it's been a really interesting day so far. We've covered a lot of different subject matters. I think it's really interesting how innovation is playing such a key role in the creative process of everything from marketing and just communicating to each other. And over the last few, we heard from the gaming industry this morning about the power of kind of create, fandom within the gaming industry. And that's already taken another transition. And we're here this afternoon thanks to Flaunt and Chris from Nic as well. So if you would just quickly introduce yourself, or take your time and introduce yourselves.
Sounds good. Hello, everyone. My name's Connor. I am the co-founder and CEO of Flaunt, and we'll get more into exactly what that is later in the panel.
Hey, everyone. My name is Nic Hill. I'm co-founder and head of the interactive department at Sawhorse. Sawhorse, we're a 360 content studio building branded campaigns for agencies, studios, and brands. We started in 2D media, and we've moved into 3D immersive content on platforms like Roblox.
Brilliant, thank you. So let's kind of kick things off with you, Connor. And you obviously started life in Roblox and then decided to set up a loyalty business. How does that happen?
Yeah,
How do you join the dots?
I get that question quite frequently. So I joined Roblox back in 2018. When I joined, I had to reach out to my 15-year-old cousin and say, "Hey, have you heard of this Roblox thing? Does everybody here know about Roblox?" Roblox is a UGC experience platform. It's a gaming, historically a gaming platform, but it's evolving to be more of a co-experience platform. The interesting thing about Roblox is that it is a platform, and Roblox creates no experiences or games. It's all created by developers and users of the platform. They have a development tool, think Unity or Fortnite's Unreal Engine, and they have a client, an app, a website, a desktop client where you can jump around all the millions of different experiences, some of which are built for brands by studios like Sawhorse. It's also at massive scale, 70 million daily active users, 15 billion hours of engagement per month or per quarter. And then the last super cool stat about Roblox, 2.5 hours of engagement per daily active user. That's more than TikTok. That's more than YouTube. That's more than Instagram. It's insane. So, but I had no idea what Roblox was back then. And so I joined after hearing that my 15-year-old cousin and all of his classmates, that's all they did. So what I learned at Roblox was that it's at massive scale. The things that make it tick, the things that make it so engaging are everything is social. You have a character that's bouncing around to all these different games. You have a digital identity that persists very much like the real world that goes into all these different immersive environments. And it's all driven and powered by word of mouth. The other thing I learned, which led to Flaunt, was that brands were trying to get in front of the next generation of consumers. And they're having a really difficult time turning it into a profitable and sustainable marketing channel. There's no way, unlike TikTok and Instagram, there's some challenges to linking it to your core business. And so ultimately I got together with my co-founder, Chris, who comes from the digital advertising background that's all about measuring and driving ROI. And we started Flaunt to solve that problem and help bring brands more success on Roblox.
Brilliant. And we're going to get into that more in a bit. So, and then Nic, you've gone on a bit of an interesting journey, not only kind of making films about graffiti, but also started in content. How does a content agency move into Roblox?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I started as a filmmaker, telling stories with visual media, 2D media, and I was really excited about making films in that way. but I was never thought I could like go in and start making games, because when I was coming up, it was really difficult for studios to make games, especially like on the, and get that reach. So I just had an opportunity to work on the Aloe experience, Aloe Yoga, that clothing brand, and we built that on Roblox, and I was able to spin up half the team from people that were working at the company at Sawhorse, art directors, creative directors, some 3D artists and visual effects artists. And then we brought in people from the Roblox community. So we hired developers and 3D artists. We mashed that team together and we built an experience, like a gamified experience for that brand. And it was kind of like telling a story for a brand in a 2D linear video sense, but instead of being locked to a timeline with a beginning, a middle, and an end, you're now being able to build a 3D immersive experience that's gamified, that's persistent. So people are spending longer time in there, they have more agency to explore, and they can keep coming back day after day. So it's a totally different way of thinking about building and brand storytelling. And it's just completely rejuvenated my career. And now I've left that side of the company, and now I kind of run the interactive side, and now we figure out how to tell these immersive experiences for these brands. It's super exciting.
And also, don't be modest. That's one of the most successful experiences on Roblox in history for brands, right?
Yeah, thank you. It's one of the biggest experiences in the fashion category. So to date, it's been around for about 2.5 years, and it has 207 million visits to date. So it's pretty insane. Tons of hours of engagement, and it just continues to grow. And there's very little updates happening there. It's gotten picked up in the algorithm, and now it's something that the community knows. They go there. Within this experience, you can do guided meditation. And I think the user base there has kind of adopted it. And if they want to take a break from doing this certain type of game, they can always pop in there, meditate, get some digital UGC clothing that's based on the IRL clothing, and it just kind of like lives on.
And I think that's the crazy thing about this world, isn't it? And you touched on it, is and one of the reasons we're interested in it as an agency as well is because it is a live experience. And you pointed out earlier, it's compared to traditional advertising where you're talking about seconds of engagement, people are spending hours. And so just like you would do in any real life experience, that's, I presume, where you saw the opportunity around loyalty. So what is the unique offering within Flaunt that makes kind of loyalty work, and how does it work with avatars and people?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I'm going to start by the essence of a digital loyalty program. So loyalty programs have been around for a long time. When they went from, just sort of physical punch cards or and just strictly existing in the physical world as a way to sort of create sunk costs to keep people with your brand as opposed to jumping ship to another brand. When they went digital, they sort of took on a different role within marketing organizations, and really they serve as a attribution tool. You provide rewards and digital and incentives for your customers to reveal themselves at different parts of the customer journey. That gives you as a brand unbelievable data that allows you to understand what your customers are doing as opposed to them just paying in cash and checking out as a guest. And that data allows you to personalize experiences, which is super, super important. So in the Roblox context, how loyalty shows up is right now, brands, or until very recently, brands really had a tough time understanding who all of these 200 million visits, who are those people as customers, and because brands, when I was at Roblox, brands would do activations, but really have a tough time linking it to their core business to drive revenue and engagement with their actual products and services. And so loyalty, and the way that our loyalty cloud for Roblox works is you can design campaigns that complement the experiences that you're building and deploying on Roblox. And you can integrate with Roblox's experiences, the platforms, and integrate with Salesforce and Oracle and all Shopify and all those sort of boring enterprise platforms, so that you can reward customers for revealing themselves in the game and at the checkout counter. And that allows you to not only drive 207 million visits and lots of engagement in the middle of the funnel, but also conversions, which really unlocks a sustainable channel in investing in Roblox. So that's sort of how loyalty comes into the picture.
And I think what's really cool about this, and what people, I suppose, from because that's the trouble, especially in marketing, is most senior marketeers are probably Generation X and haven't grown up with this, whereas these younger audiences, like my kids, it's just a natural thing. So we're talking about this is going to change. Well, it's already changing retail, and so yeah. And just to quite, we did we did a music festival in Second Life. And it was the oddest thing. We just did it because it sounded really cool. It's like 12 years ago. But actually watching it and then having a friend of mine phone me up and say, "Are you in the festival?" And I'm like, "Well, no, I'm watching it." And he said, "I'll look over by the stage." And then there's this avatar waving at me. It's like that kind of, when you realize it's physical people and it's the socializing that's happening, and it's the whole, there's data out there that says kids are more conscious about their digital identity than they are their physical identities now. So those kids are going to want to be able to buy different things and things like that. So talk us through kind of the mechanics. Obviously you've just picked up a bunch of awards and stuff. What makes a successful experience within this arena, and how does it then integrate with loyalty?
I'll tell one story, and then I'll kick it over to you to tell the other story. So the very first integrated campaign that we ran was for PepsiCo's sparkling water brand Bubbly. I'm actually going to tell you about how the initial part, which wasn't unsuccessful, but had some learnings that we had an iteration that really allowed it to sort of 10x the expectations. So the initial campaign, Bubbly partnered with some famous Roblox influencers, Carl Jacobs and Creekcraft, to do a brand integration. Rather than building their own experience, they integrated into an existing experience. And there was a mini game that brought the brand to life in a really, really fun and super authentic way. And they also had an avatar item. And these limited supply avatar items are, like you said, super highly sought after by this audience, extremely valuable. You can wear, in this case, a Bubbly can as your head and pop around into all these different experiences. It's super fun, wearing the brand on your sleeve, and it gives the players a free experience. The way that the campaign was originally designed, PepsiCo as a CPG brand has a huge priority to collect first-party data, which is super important. Everything that's going on with third-party, tracking, deprecation of the cookie, developing direct relationships is very important to this organization. And so we designed a campaign that has some different tasks, integrates with Salesforce, integrates with Roblox, in order to unlock the chance for free Bubbly for a year, merch, other rewards. The first iteration of this, they really just wanted to show up and get people excited about the brand. They dropped the avatar item, and the avatar item, claiming that, was actually a task. It wasn't part of the reward. And so, turns out, this generation cares much more about an avatar item than they do about a chance to win and have an opportunity to win a sweepstakes. So, after those items sold out in very, very, very short period of time, and very few people signed up for the sweepstakes. So in the second iteration of the campaign, the avatar item was part of the reward set. And so having a suite of physical rewards and digital rewards in exchange for that first-party data was a much more compelling value exchange, and that 50x the last immersive first-party data campaign that PepsiCo had launched. So just a little bit of I
just want to dive into that though, because so you're talking about rewarding people for their data. Then is that's the context of it?
The essence of a digital loyalty program.
Yeah. Yep. Which is great, because that's the thing we've probably all suffered from for the last couple of decades, isn't it? Is our data's basically being taken away from us, and businesses have made plenty of money out of our data and we've got nothing back. So, and is that the kind of, because these panels are more about what you can do with it, but just talk us like the technology behind that, because this is all Web3 based, and what's the back end behind it?
Yeah, the back end is really like, connect your account here, and having APIs that can ingest, this person is showing up here, they're showing up at, the Shopify, like checking out. And so it's API based so that you can integrate with Roblox's platform, with Roblox's experiences, and with these enterprise platforms. And our campaigns engine, where you sort of configure these different activities and press publish, is really like the back end. It's quite simple. It's just like bridging worlds that had never been bridged before.
Right. And Nic, so how have you ended up working together?
Yeah, so just reminding the audience of like what's going on here. It's just these brands, they activate on the platform, and they have these goals of going beyond just brand awareness marketing, top of funnel. So it's like a lot of the things that we build, we'll work with these top brands, we'll make these cool gamified experiences. They'll get millions of visits, like tons of hours of engagement. And then brands are like, how do I reach them? Who are these people? And oftentimes the answer is like, we don't know. There's a bunch of usernames, the age data is self-reported. There's only so much data I can give you. And a lot of times the clients will say, well, I have this real life campaign. Like, how do I connect these people to that campaign? Like, how do I get them to actually, go out in the real world and buy this thing, or like come to this thing and, event that we're doing? So that's why I got excited about Flaunt, because they kind of help break down the walls and kind of connect the users on the platform to what's happening in the real world. And the one thing that we have to remember is all of these platforms and sites, they all have different terms of service with limitations on what you can and can't do. On Roblox, they don't allow you to do any deep linking, because in a perfect world, you would just be like, cool, here's the new campaign. It's this new car, and you can buy it over here, or you can go to these activations that are happening in all these major cities. Here's all the information. You're not able to put that on the platform, and you're not able to directly drive people off. So, the challenge becomes, with this rule, how do you connect those two worlds? And that's what Flaunt does. And we did this with two examples, two cool projects that we did. The first was for Lamborghini, and the second was for Paris Hilton and Hilton hotels. The first one was Lamborghini. One of their goals was to monetize, and they wanted to monetize in the real world and not necessarily just on Roblox in the form of selling digital items. So we put our heads together. I got really inspired by, Web3, and basically like the blockchain. Like when you buy something, it has utility behind it that you can leverage in the real world. And we all know that Roblox is not on the blockchain. So we kind of hacked it, and we created a super limited item for Lamborghini. It was a golden bull head item inspired by the brand icon. And we sold only 3 of them. And the utility that comes behind this item, if you own this item, you get a custom trip to Italy where you get to go to the Lamborghini factory, and you get to meet all these people, go to a fancy dinner, and like really like get this VIP experience. And we put those out for sale. They're the most expensive items ever sold on the Roblox platform. We only made 3 of them, and they sold out within 1 hour. And now we connected Flaunt so those users can go off platform to Lamborghini. They can verify that they are the holders of those bull helmets, and then they get connected with the Lamborghini team that's going to facilitate their trip to Italy, which I think is happening in like 2 weeks from now. So that was just really cool way of like actually having impact and like driving people off into the real world.
And so, but Lamborghini, why? What were their objectives for going into that? Why? That's and it's been really successful, but it's a surprise to hear a brand like that stepping into Roblox.
Well, I think they're really excited about innovation,
right?
And this is like the future of marketing. This is where marketing can become really fun and add layers of value for people. Like really stepping away from the top-down kind of I'm driving down the street, look at this billboard, come buy this thing. I think, the future of marketing is adding layers of value and utility. And especially if you're talking about immersive marketing, immersive ads, people are opting in to experience this. And it's like, if you're going to do that, you should give them something for their participation. Or you should make it fun so they're actually engaged and enjoying and choosing to do that. And then maybe they walk away with having some real world value for the time that they've given you. So I think Lamborghini understood that, and I think that's really why they wanted to pursue it.
And that's what's kind of cool about this, because it's one of the reasons I chose events as like my marketing speciality a long time ago, because it was the best way to get right in front of a consumer, don't like that word, an audience, and that you're targeting the right audience. You're not just kind of blanket reaching people. And we were talking a lot about that in the Activision talk. So what are the current demographics like then, and how broad an audience? Because we heard from Activision this morning about its gaming has now got almost 50-50 male female, the age ranges, we've almost gone a full loop from it kicking off in the 80s, so an audience has grown up with it, but also there's a young audience. So what are the demographics in this world like?
You want to take this one?
I'll take it, and then you can fill in the gaps.
Sure.
Roblox historically has skewed towards a younger demographic. Even when I was there, 5 years ago, there's a huge priority of aging up, because Roblox is on like a huge growth path, and even the types of experiences that are possible on Roblox, they're like mind blowing. There was literally just another like a Call of Duty type experience that was launched on Roblox, and if you know and grew up with Roblox has been around for a very long time, your mind would be blown that this is a AAA quality experience that is launched on this platform. So it's a huge organizational priority, and has been for a long time, to continue pushing up market in terms of the demographic. And I think now, based on the latest like quarterly results, it is majority over 13, if not 50-50, and the 17 to 24 and 25 and over segments are the fastest growing on the platform. So, and I think that's could be a whole other discussion on how these campaigns and being responsible with the age gating, and I really love how you guys handled that with the Hilton campaign, I would love for you to talk about it.
Yeah, so I just want to throw out two additional statistics about the audience, the demographic that's really important for brands. It's basically split 50-50 male and female. That's one interesting thing. Another interesting thing is it's a really open and diverse community of users that are playing these games, and there's all kinds of different games and experiences. There's a lot of other UGC platforms that some are as big as Roblox, many are much smaller, but they're very skewed. Like if you look at a platform like Fortnite, which has almost the same amount of daily active users, but they are more skewed to first-person shooters and not like other experiences. So with Roblox, it's a much more it's more social gaming. So you get a lot of different groups of people that are super wide. So that's appealing to brands, because they can reach basically anyone they want within Gen Z, and now it's aging up as well.
Great. And let's talk about your announcement. You've just started doing some really great stuff. You're launching a cloud-based system. Do you want to expand into that a bit?
Yeah, it's we had a pilot program where when we initially started Flaunt's business, we were trying to start it in this Roblox direction to solve that pain point. But some of the APIs you're talking about, like what's the backend system, Roblox has been prioritizing for a long time their open cloud APIs to really start to allow Roblox as a experience and as a platform to be everywhere. And so those APIs just got released in October, and we had our pilot program, of which PepsiCo, of which Hilton and Paris Hilton and Lamborghini were all a part of it. And the results were incredible. Nick failed to mention the Lamborghini exclusive bullhead items sold for the equivalent of like $17,000 an avatar item, because of this in real life component. And that was really the essence of why we started this business. Brands have these amazing businesses that exist so far from Roblox, but they just couldn't connect it. So what we've launched is the next evolution of the solution that we deployed for these brands. And again, you can come in a self-serve capacity as a development studio like Sawhorse and others, or if you're the brand, to design your campaign, export your API keys, get it set up with your developer, your Roblox experience, integrate and install apps, whether it's Amazon if you want to reward an Amazon purchase, Shopify, etc., and really start leveling up the ROI that you're able to drive, and doing so at greater scale than we were able to do in the pilot program.
That's really exciting. And I think the thing, we talked about this when we did our podcast, you keep talking about in real life, because it is, and it's interaction. And especially with loyalty, do you see, we saw it in gaming where suddenly gaming went into esports and suddenly it became a spectator thing. Do you see any convergence back into the real world? How's it going to work? Because it's kind of crazy times, isn't it? Thinking about whether to go to, because kids are going to start actually, and I think we've got a talk on Monday about it, experiencing music festivals in digital, but will they want to go back into live? How will that transcend? Will it cross over at all? What are your thoughts?
Well, one thing I think about sometimes is, you look at the vision of the metaverse, you go to like Ready Player One or Snow Crash and all this stuff. If we get to that level of immersion and fidelity, and it is like real life, there's this argument that's like, oh, it's going to be this dystopian future. We're all just going to live in our devices and the real world is going to suck. I think that's just an oversimplification. I think with anything in moderation. I think that everyone's going to be using that stuff once it becomes available, but I don't think it's an all or nothing. So I think there will be a balance. And look, we're humans and we're social. We all came out to South by Southwest in person because we wanted to see humans. So it's like that's, I don't think that's going away. But if you look at like a campaign, like a music festival, for instance, right? Like what is the purpose of doing a music festival or doing an event? It's like brands are doing this because they need to get their message out there. They need to engage with audiences, and that helps keep them relevant, and it keeps driving sales. And my perspective and argument is, if you're going to do that, why not also amplify it into the metaverse, onto platforms like Roblox? If you're talking about like reach and engagement and real numbers, you're going to get all that from traditional methods and social methods. IRL component's great. Add in a metaverse layer and look at a whole 360 campaign with all those touch points. You're going to get massive engagement.
Well, and this is what kind of interests me in the fact that that whole idea is really kind of interesting, because keeping it an always-on strategy and allow it, that's what's kind of great about Roblox, is it's not just a one-off. And so if you can kind of traverse the two, then it's going to get better results.
And as the sort of data and ROI guy that grew up in the finance department, being able to do all of that, leverage the investment that you're putting into to have a real life event, have a metaverse or an immersive iteration of that, and then being able to link all those touch points so that you really have a 360 view of your customer. Totally. I feel like I sound like Salesforce, but
well, no, but it's so true. To be honest, this is why we set Lively up. Was I was on the event side, and my business partner was on the live streaming side. And the hardest thing with event marketing was ROI, measuring it. If you start creating content and you have any sort of digital interaction, you've got that. And then just like you're doing now, you then tie loyalty into it. These are all great ways to bring your audiences in to actually be okay to share their data and be part of your brand.
Yeah, and that's the direction this is all going in, because the days of,
Bird agrees with us as well.
Yeah. The days of like just activating on these UGC platforms and getting the headline, oh, this brand made X world on Fortnite. that's amazing. They got some people to show up. 1 million people came, whatever. It's like, that's less important. Brands are becoming more savvy. The space is becoming more mature, and people are now saying, where's the ROI? You know, like, okay, eyeballs are great, but like, how did this drive sales? You know, like, look at Alo Yoga. We don't have a Flaunt integration. We don't track the users. So we know that it's been visited 107 million times. How does that connect to direct sales for Alo clothing or even the Alo Moves website? I don't know. I know that it's valuable, but it's hard to tell marketing executives, like, this is why you should spend X because you're going to get Y. So that's why, kind of getting away from the top of funnel, going straight into direct sales and connecting those worlds. Once that happens, it's going to make sense to all the brands.
Well, and it's a two-way communication, isn't it? And there's already been some examples of fashion brands actually testing, and I think we're going to hear from the guys from Geek in a bit, but with some real data points about the power of the fact that you can test data. So my daughter, she was playing in Roblox. My wife set a strict dress code because she was only 10. And I was like, have you ever checked out what she's doing? And sure enough, my daughter had totally styled herself out on exactly the clothes she wasn't supposed to be wearing in real life. And but she was styling herself. And we've already seen some great case studies where people have launched beanies in digital beanies, and they've been so popular, then the fashion brand has actually released those into the real life. So that just shows the massive transformation we're going in, starting in digital and then probably going back out into the real world.
Yeah, it's like the oldest rule of marketing, right? Like, go to where the people are. Yeah. It's simple. Connor brought it up on the panel here. It's like 70 million daily active users. They're all spending 2.5 hours per day on this platform. Males, females, that's where they are. So, and we also talked about how digital identity is so important. People are spending a lot of time, energy, and money customizing their avatars. It makes sense to them. So if you're a clothing brand and you want to stay relevant, you can't only make IRL clothing anymore. If you want to stay relevant for the younger generations, Gen Z, Gen Y, and moving forward. So I think you need to play in both arenas. This is the direction that we're all moving in.
Well, and there's also, we've had a couple of conversations with brands now, and there was a lot of talk at CES about what we all need to realize is people are kind of growing up. So it's like, how do you market to your next customer? And so, for instance, we're having a conversation with a brand, and they came to us and said, oh, we're doing a lot in social media, but we now want to look at getting out into real events. So we're like, great, but there's two more layers you need to think about. One, look at loyalty and how you're going to tie all those things together and really get value out of that engagement. But also, let's look at digital events as well and start educating your next customers to kind of grow up with you. And I think that's we've been talking about this quite a lot. That's kind of what's exciting about where us as agencies are going to kind of start cross-fertilizing and hopefully educating our clients on how to integrate into new media channels. And your point's perfect. Get lower down the funnel and get more ROI. It's a no-brainer. Stop spending all those ad budgets and spend it in our world.
I want to rewind back to something both of you said, talking about starting in the digital and getting taking those learnings to the physical. I think that's a huge opportunity, and we've already started to see that for the last couple of years, particularly in the fashion industry, for digital clothing starting to turn into physical clothing. But it's cheaper to iterate, and to test ideas that might be crazy in this immersive environment. And it's also, from a loyalty perspective, a lot of brands are trying to figure out, how do I, increase redemptions? I'm spitting out these points as part of my loyalty program. How do I give a compelling brand-aligned offer that doesn't break the bank? And distributing avatar items is relatively cheap. It's 20 cents per item that you're distributing relative to a 20, 30, 40% discount on a $150 product. It's actually quite profitable. And so I think that another just prediction is that more and more particularly I think in the fashion and sort of beauty space, more and more loyalty programs will start to offer some of these avatar items that highly sought after, if you recall the bubbly example, in as a reward as part of their loyalty program.
That's I was going to say before because I want to pick up on that, but I know we're running out of time a bit. So before I carry on with my questions, because I could carry on all afternoon, has anybody got any questions for these guys? Is there any? Oh yeah, go straight for it. Right up.
I'm really excited because I love the allow experience.
Nice.
Which I just goes really weirdly by having an adults like the online subscriptions. I was really surprised. I was really curious. Has the success of it? Because I presume like Allows weren't expecting it to like this big. Has it changed like the stuff they're doing on the other side as well?
Yeah, so Allo is very interesting. We built it 2.5 years ago with the hopes of making it a 1-month pop-up experience for New York Fashion Week. So they said, look, you got to make this thing super quick, and we want to, announce it at Fashion Week. Let's just see how it goes. We didn't even have any established goals or KPIs. It was like, I don't know, let's see what that does on Roblox. And it blew up, and people really loved it. And then this happens with a lot of clients. They don't have a clear long-term goal, with the build. A lot of times they have the plan just to sunset it after it like slows down. But a lot of times it doesn't tend to slow down. It just keeps kind of going. And then you have this concurrent traffic that's there. And now the brand's in a position where they're like, do I keep it up? Do I sunset it? Do I have to pump more updates and live ops into it so I can get more out of it? And to our conversation today, it's like, or can I tie it to my real world sales, or can I somehow get loyalty people involved in this? It's a very young space as far as what brands can expect out of their campaigns.
But I think that's a really important message, because that also comes out of the old sponsorship world of when brands used to come to us to do stuff in music festivals and stuff like that. We were like, please, if you're trying to go after that audience and you want to engage with fans, don't do a one-off. Don't do it just to, and it's even worse with tech. They love the headline, and it's great. I've just spent £500,000 to £1 million and I've got a headline newspaper, and then they dump it and move on. That's going to piss the people off that you've touched. Yeah. And I think that's where this is getting really interesting, because it's build the loyalty programs, now start realizing that you have to create longer term projects, because you're going to have more of a negative effect on your brand if you just go in and take advantage of that audience and go straight back out again. And that's why it's quite exciting with loyalty kind of being tied into that. So we're going to run out of time now, but I really do want to just have a couple of minutes talking about kind of the future of loyalty programs, because Flaunt are doing something really innovating. I know there's lots of kind of creative executions from people like MasterCard and stuff like that, but you've really kind of cracked where loyalty's going. So what's your vision for the future?
That's a great question. So
thank you.
Thank you for asking the question. So I think I touched on this earlier, but loyalty is getting really, really, really important because of this sort of digital attribution role that it takes in marketing organizations, and because of all of the challenges that are going on with some of the more top of funnel and third-party data tracking. So getting more and more people to participate and getting your loyalty program to do what you were sort of saying and tie all of those interactions together. People are spending time on Roblox. They're spending time on Instagram. They're spending time on TikTok, and really enabling your brand to start tying those touch points to your loyalty program so that you can personalize the experience, so that you can add more engagement like Lamborghini to your experiences. I think that is a huge trend that we're seeing with a lot of our clients. People will say, hey, I love what you did for us on Roblox, or I love this Roblox capability. Can you also do it for Instagram? Can you also do it for TikTok? And so that's where going beyond our Roblox offerings, brands are starting to guide us. I also think gamification in general. We had a client, a skincare brand that growing really, really, really quickly, super innovative and mission driven, but they had a loyalty program that was pretty cookie cutter. They had this AI skin quiz that really allowed you to personalize and spit out what the appropriate skincare routine that's right for you, and they have a great social presence and just helpful content. But they had a cookie cutter loyalty program that didn't tie all those interactions together. And when they migrated to a Flaunt program that has this same gamified campaigns engine that we've been talking about, that ties all of these different interactions together, but also rewards incremental action, and implemented some of these social integrations, they had a 20% incremental sales lift for an already quickly growing business and a 300% increase in profits, which is very important in this environment relative to their old loyalty program. So some of these gamification, community, and social elements are, I think, where loyalty is going. And Roblox is this place where there's this just huge gap between, and that's why we're really excited about bridging it.
That's what's kind of really exciting about these new platforms, though, isn't it? Because everybody's kind of been stuck in social media, and social media's kind of gone through, well, in my mind, a bit of a change, let's say. But for here, going back to that social identity and stuff like that, it gives people, people get bored of this analogy, but it's like I'm a Gorillaz fan, and I was so upset because I paid for a VIP ticket, took my son there, and all I got as a reward was, which we've just done, which is a bit embarrassing, is a t-shirt and a tote bag. And it's like, I was actually expecting, because they're an art-based thing, that I'd get all these digital collectibles and stuff like that, and it's just missing. So there's plenty of future in that. My final question then for both of you then is, what advice have you got? Like, how best to create experiences in these spaces? How, like you said, it's like, great, people are going in there and creating these pop-up things, but why are they spending so long, and what's your advice to brands to get involved and then to integrate kind of the loyalty side of it?
I think it'd be great for you to start on that.
Yeah, sure. So the thing that we always start with brands is like trying to understand their goals as soon as possible. Like, a lot of times brands are just hyped on the metaverse, and they're like, whoa, I got to be on Roblox. And I'm like, why? And they're like, I don't know. My boss said it, I got to do it. And it's like, okay, well, let's figure this out. Like, let's figure out what your goals are so we can design a product and an experience that's going to kind of like match those. And so advice would be, if a brand wants to get into this, I think they need to figure out what are they willing to put in as far as like time, energy, dedication, and also money. What level of that are they willing to commit, and what are their goals? I tend to have brands do like a crawl, walk, run approach, because it's overwhelming for these marketing departments. A lot of them don't have any experience in gaming. They don't have like a Web3 expert on their team oftentimes. And Roblox can be very overwhelming, especially if in their mind they're like, oh, I need a persistent experience, an always-on thing that's a reflection of my brand. I don't think anyone is prepared to support that. So what I like to have them do is like start with like either a small integration in someone else's game, or maybe like a pop-up experience that's a month long. And if they really get into it and they see the success of one of those things, then they can snowball it into a larger operation once they're more familiar with the platform and they know what their goals are and they know kind of what they're getting out of it. And we're talking about where this is going, like in the future, we're also talking about how video billboards are starting to roll out. And this is like, if you're just going for impressions and you don't want to make a core game loop and a persistent experience, it's overwhelming. You can just literally take your commercial and you can put it on video billboards and some of the top experiences that have the most traffic. And from an impression standpoint, you can get millions, billions of impressions very quickly. And one thing we did with the Paris Hilton project is we took the 30-second broadcast commercial and we did a one-to-one visual effects clone of that with starring all Roblox characters and a Roblox version of Paris Hilton. And we put that as part of the Hilton Honors campaign that they rolled out on TV and social. We also put that in the metaverse on Roblox and kind of amplified that campaign. So in the future, I see more brands
that commercial is amazing.
Thank you. And and we worked with Flaunt on that as well, because Hilton Honors, in addition to that campaign of just letting people know about the Hilton and the Hilton Honors program, we designed a situation in Slivingland, which is Paris Hilton's experience, that encouraged the player base there to go on a scavenger hunt to unlock these special UGC items, these deer antlers. And part of the experience was, the challenge was you had to go off platform, and you had to go to the Hilton Honors site and learn about Hilton Honors, and then you come back to Roblox, and that's how you earned the item. So that drove, like, I don't know, over 30,000 new users that were kind of learning about Hilton Honors. And the only way we could do that is with Flaunt.
Thank you. The Hilton experience, I think there's some amazing videos. I would highly recommend checking it out because it was incredible. I'll be brief and just, I agree with everything that you just said. And I think in general, like the video billboards, it's more and more like Roblox is enabling brands to make their presence more plug and play. We've had, because of this ROI component where, hey, I can actually drive conversions on Roblox, and hey, it's so much engagement, like this is a big opportunity. We've had more brands coming to us that otherwise wouldn't have been on Roblox because they now have a different ROI equation. They're starting to get more involved. So I'm obviously really excited about that. And I also think everything you said, spot on. But even outside of the billboards, even just like having a light immersive experience, that is just becoming, because of talented studios like Sawhorse and others, that's becoming more and more accessible. And if you can have an immersive experience that brings your brand to light a little bit, maybe in that crawl phase, and also have some of these avatar items and drive conversions for your brand, like that's a really compelling story that might get some press time, also gets your CMO and your CFO to be like, whoa, this actually drove some real business results. Maybe we should start walking a little bit faster and maybe get to run faster. So that's what I'm excited about the future.
Great, thank you. I think anybody else got a question before we wrap up? Oh, yes, please.
So, on Roblox, are you concerned at all that the more these ingenious strategies maybe get implemented and others start doing what Flaunt's doing, that you might drive away the purists who embrace Roblox, and that's the reason they spend 2.5 hours a day, as word gets around that, they're just marketing inputs?
Yeah, I have a quick, and then it looks like you have an answer to that too. When I was at Roblox, one of my responsibilities for a couple of years was running the avatar marketplace. And historically, you couldn't, and another stat about Roblox is only 5%-ish in a month of all of those players, and the monthly active users is more like in the 200, 300 million. Only 5% of those pay and buy Robux in a given month. So there's a lot of people that are engaging and don't have the ability to pay and participate. That means that they can't customize their avatar, and so they're walking around as sort of noob character without any additional customization. And so I pitched the whole company and I said, brands are going to be the primary sponsor of free content, allowing different players to customize their character and have a better experience. Like I said, those three things: social, UGC and word of mouth, and identity. Like that's so important to players. And so one of the reasons I'm really excited about what we're doing is, like I said, more brands are coming in. That's more opportunities for free content to enable you to express yourself a little bit more in this environment. So that's my answer to that, having some experience. It was a little like they were a little confused. But now, like a lot of the features that I was like doing Excel sheets and pitching are actually released. Like that's what's making there's more free content on Roblox than there's ever been before. So it took a little while, and it was a little confusing back in 2018, but now it's starting to happen, and people are getting free stuff.
Yeah, I agree with all that, and I would just say that I'm not too concerned about the user base there feeling like it's becoming a brand takeover, and the reason is because it's such a free and open platform, and it's run by all these amazing developers from around the world. And when you go to Roblox, you're opting in to experience whatever you want. And a lot of the huge traffic goes to some of the biggest games on the platform that have the most concurrent users. Those games could choose not to have any ad in their experience. So really, like, it depends on where you go and what you do once you're there. It's not a situation where if you would go to play the game, you have to watch an ad. It's not really designed like that, which is flexible.
I was going to say, because I think that's what's really interesting, because, yeah, your point, I think that's that's hitting the social media channels now, is they needed to introduce a ad revenue model, but, you know, like certain channels I'm on, I get sick and tired with the ads that I'm getting, fed, and so it's actually moving me away from social media. The trouble is I don't necessarily have, apart from going in and going, this is spam constantly, whereas with these platforms, it's in real life. These audiences can literally choose whether they're going to do it or not. And so and also it's down to us agencies, and you're going to hear from Geek in a bit about educating these businesses to make sure we do it right. Otherwise, it will go the same way that a lot of the social channels are going.
Yeah, and I would just say it's just less intrusive than current advertising. Like on TV, it interrupts what you're watching. You drive down the street, there's a billboard. You cannot not see it. And then in these platforms, certain experience will have ads or whatever, but you can literally turn around and not look at it. And a lot of these experiences don't have ads. And I would also say that what's really cool from a protection standpoint, ads aren't even shown to anyone who's under 13. So, like, if you go into an experience that has a billboard, an under 13 person won't see it. Just the over 13 will.
And also the industry, like we heard about it from Activision this morning, and I've seen plenty of presentations. Linear TV is now, has been on a decline for like the last 10 years, and streaming and gaming platforms are on the rise. And it's because I think audiences prefer it because we can switch the shit off if we want, if I'm allowed to swear on. So I think that's the good safety harness for us all. Well, look, I could carry on for ages, but I won't. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you to you two. Thank you, Flaunt.
Thanks for having us.
Really good. Yeah, no,
thanks
good.
for having us. Thanks for showing up and asking questions.
We're going to have a quick 5-minute break, but I do if you found this interesting, I would stick around for Geek, because what's really interesting about Geek is they're actually helping brands kind of step back and actually look at the data and make the right move, because the biggest problem is when people just jump into this feet first and go, well, you said it, like, I want to do Roblox because my boss told me. So we've got some really good data and some great white paper and some insight about how to do that best, and that's kind of where the kind of Geek fit into the whole ecosystem. So stick around and get educated.
The best data.
Cheers. Bye.